Hey Dude,
The 90s Called,
with Christine Taylor and David Lascher.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hey Dude, The 90s Called podcast. I am David.
Hi David, I am Christine.
Hi Christine.
Hi. I know our guest is waiting, but I want to make one very quick comment because I feel like we've sort of accumulated some fans, some people who like the podcast, some regular listeners, dare we say. And then I this is the bad thing about reading comments.
Oh gosh.
Anywhere.
Slippery slope.
Slippery slope, and which is kind of why I don't have a public Instagram. But one person commented saying it would really be so much better if you both said your last names.
Oh gosh.
Which made me laugh. It would just round it out a little bit. So I'm acknowledging that listener, but maybe maybe that was it. Maybe they're like, nope, they only go by first names. I don't know who they are.
Well, you and I are both people pleasers. So I'm David Lascher.
Yeah. And I'm Christine Taylor. And it says, if you've clicked on this, it says our names there. I think David and I are just trying to get a little more cash. Right?
I agreed with that.
Anyway, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. So I think we just go with whatever we're feeling on that day.
Let's do whatever. Yeah, we can't please everybody.
No, we can't please everybody. We can't please everybody. Not everybody even introduces themselves. You know, I think we did that early on, and now we're kind of finding our groove.
Well, let's introduce this amazing guest because he's been waiting there.
Oh gosh.
I mean, this guy has been, the longevity and the range of his work is so amazing. Please let us welcome Steven Weber to the podcast.
Hi.
What is happening? Hi.
Hi. It's been ages since I've seen you. You used to be my neighbor. We were neighbors.
We were neighbors. There were some fun neighborhood parties back in the day in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, boy, a long time ago.
But we all had young kids and we'd all gather together, and it's so good to see you. And why has it taken decades? Why does it take a podcast?
Well, because you needed to go down the list and finally find people who are still in town, who aren't doing that much. And
man. You would,
nice.
You would be at the top of our
nice
list.
Guys.
Well, affable and nice, you nailed it. But you might be the busiest person we've had on here. So hello and welcome.
Hi.
Yes, thank you, Steven Weber, for being here.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Wait, did you guys live near each other during the Adam Duritz years, where you threw the parties and he wasn't invited? And...
No. This was like when we all had young kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there were like trick-or-treating gatherings in the neighborhood. And,
that's right.
Yes. Yep.
And we would see each other. This is when, oh my God, and I miss these years, baby Bjorns and kids in strollers. And my favorite story is that I once took a brief dip in your pool with the late, great Jerry Stiller. And
oh no.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And he, and I, of course, thrilled and a big Stiller Mira fan and all that stuff. Christine's keeping house and just, doing everything. So I was hanging out with Jerry and we went into the pool. And I mean this, and I even told Ben this like a long time ago. It's a little gross, but funny. When I was in my shorts and he was in his boxer shorts, Jerry.
Okay. Right. He probably wasn't expecting a swim. It was probably an impromptu swim. I see where this is going.
Was he wearing a manzier?
No. The thing is that he had this kind of gorilla strength and kind of bearing that is like, and so when we went into the pool, I'll just say, croquet anyone? That's all I'll say. And he was so cool, and I actually maintained a kind of an interesting connection with him. Not to talk about him too much, but over the years, I would run into him, and I did a play in New York, and he was there with Anne, and he was, and we talked, and it was always such a thrill. And so I feel like this is like a connection to it.
I know it feels like family, and it does. And Jerry, so many people tell us those stories about Jerry, so it's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
He loved swimming, and I really, until the late years, he would go to the JCC in New York City on the Upper West Side every single day and swim. So he loved coming to LA when and getting into a private swimming pool that he didn't have to share with a bunch of other senior citizens.
That's right.
Between the hours of 5 and 6. But we had a similar story of him taking the kids to the JCC and him bringing the kids to the changing area. And I was trying to help get the kids in. And he did it was a similar moment of just sort of the curtain wasn't fully closed and a lot was happening. And I was like, well, that's my father-in-law. And I love him.
Funny. Oh God. I mean, it's what's not to love, it's so funny being out here. I guess I've been in LA since 89. So a long time, 30 plus years. I'm too lazy. I'm too tired to add. And there seems to be a dearth of old people, not a dearth of them, but I don't see very many of them. And Jerry and his generation were the kind of old people that looked old. They didn't take too many precautions to kind of alter or kind of slow down the aging process. And he looked authentically old. Like, in fact, today is Mel Brooks's birthday. Happy birthday, Uncle Mel.
Oh,
and
awesome.
He's 97. This guy looks so old, like in the best way, but holy shit, it's like the way people don't look old anymore. He looks old.
They earned it, right?
But their minds are still sharp, right?
Absolutely.
Mel Brooks still has breakfast at the Nosh in Beverly Hills with
absolutely.
his boys.
There's something to that. Anyway, I've been talking too much already. See how
Not at all.
No, the thought of Frank Costanza in a public JCC pool is funny to me.
Never not funny.
But talk about we go back to your beginnings. Your parents were performers and your dad was a manager for some of these comedians of the Jerry Stiller era.
Sure. My mom was actually a Copa girl and a nightclub singer in the 1950s. And when that kind of New York nightclub aesthetic was so cool, staying out all night and smoking cigarettes and going to these amazing jazz clubs. And she literally did that. And then my father was an agent, a handsome agent. And his father managed a young Gleason and a young Don Rickles.
No way.
Are you
serious? Wow.
Yeah. And then let them go early for reasons which remain mysterious. But I think having to do on some level with organized crime, believe it or not. And my father was an agent. And so there was this world that I observed as a kid that was very much like the movie Broadway Danny Rose. Not as low rent, but perilously
the best. Woody Allen as an agent.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I've been to the Concord when I was a kid. And
I worked there. I did a summer there.
Right. And Jackie Gleason and those type of comedians, I grew up with that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Where did you grow up? Where were you in New York?
I'm from Westchester, New York.
Oh, wow. I went to SUNY Purchase in White Plains. So,
I'm from Scarsdale. Yeah, right next door.
I'm in Westchester right now. Look at this. Look at this.
Fantastic. Yes. I mean, this is ridiculous. Let's take this off the air. Let's forget this podcast.
Let's just screw this.
Just adopt me. Yes, let's live together.
I just got back from New York where Christine and I did some shows, but yeah. I mean, do you where do you live? Are you out here in LA or?
I live in Venice. California.
Oh, nice.
West Village by the sea. Yeah, it's very cool. It's gritty, but it's got a hip factor, which I've been chasing all my life, and it's good.
My regret in the entire time we lived in LA was that we never lived near the beach, nor did we hardly ever go to the
Yeah.
beach.
Yeah.
It felt so far away because we were in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
It felt like a schlep. It felt exhausting. And it was like, why live in California if you're
Where
not
were you
taking
born?
advantage?
Did you?
I was a Pennsylvania girl.
Okay. And when did you come out to LA?
I came out to LA around 91 or 92.
Yeah.
But it was we just never lived. I mean, I remember being a big deal when we would have friends who had a beach house in Malibu or in Santa Monica, and every time we'd go, it just felt like a different world.
Yeah.
So congratulations for living by the beach.
I'm by the beach. I rarely go to it.
Of course.
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
It is sort of like a little bit of New York meets California down in Venice. It's got that West Village feel for sure.
A little bit.
So tell us about High School of the Performing Arts, because we spoke to Jerry O'Connell, and I guess he had gone there, and it's a unique place to go to school and sort of come of age.
It really was. And I feel like I have to explain this. There was a great movie called Fame.
Right.
Ann
Mira, which Ann Mira was in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep it coming around.
Keep it in the family. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Great movie.
It was a great movie and a shockingly dark film.
Very dark.
People remember dancing on cars and the kind of ebullience of it all. It's fantastic. But it actually took a deep, dark, realistic dive into the lives of a couple of these characters. Anyway, so I went to this great high school. I grew up in Queens, and I'd done commercials when I was a kid, just a few, and was always a show off. And anyway, I ended up going to the High School of Performing Arts from 76 to 79. Holy Christ. And it was located on 46th Street between 6th and 7th Avenues. And it was fantastic. I was out of my bubble.
You did? You enjoyed it? You look back on it?
Oh my God. Yeah. It was fantastic. It was so, because you were in a school full of people who would have been bullied in other schools, and so there was never any. And I was talking about this with somebody who had actually gone. There was never any awareness of kind of race, of gender, of anything. Everybody was just so jazzed, literally and figuratively, to be there. There were dancers, musicians, and actors, and everybody was happy and grateful and lucky. And it was right in the center of Manhattan, and it was very gritty and weird. So it was fantastic. It was really brilliant. It was brilliant. And I got my first kind of a taste of what a serious approach to a theater education would look like. And then it became more advanced when I went to SUNY Purchase in Westchester. But yeah, Performing Arts was a great school. It has since moved from that location. It is by Lincoln Center.
Yep.
Yeah. And it still has a great program and it's fantastic pedigree. And I tell you, in my old age, I've been pondering art and how absolutely goddamn necessary it is to everything, to our appreciation.
Amen to that.
Oh God. Did you guys see Ethan Hawke talking about?
Yes.
Oh my God. It moved me so much.
It's circulating, right? It's circulating on social media right now.
Right. About how you don't know if you need art or if it's necessary until you get your heart broken or you go through a death in the family or you fall in love. And then you realize it's not a luxury. It's sustenance.
It is. I always say that art is the lens through which we see the reality of life. There's a better way of putting that. But without art, it would just be bland as hell. And the irony is that the people, in government or school programs, they kind of relegate art to the fringes.
Oh, yeah.
And the irony is that those people's lives were only enhanced by art. They were sitting in rooms that were designed by artists. They consume material that is the creative product, and people don't even know how essential it is and how much it separates and elevates us from, the most base kind of behavior, which I won't go into. Actually, I'll demonstrate some of it now. It's so essential, and it sounds corny, but I tell you, the older I get, the more I see how essential it is. But also, I'm willing to talk about the lowest, stupidest, crappiest, fartiest stuff if you want. I love that too.
That's what makes the world go round. You got to have a little of both.
Farts make the world go.
Fart jokes.
Farts are important, but a creative education as well. I mean, Christine has a daughter at Juilliard, so
my God.
Yeah, family values.
Christ. I didn't get into Juilliard.
She didn't think she would get into who gets into Juilliard. Honestly, it just was. It's
Talented
just
people.
one of those things that
It's
not.
so great.
It's been crazy. Yes.
Is she loving it? I mean, what year is she in?
She's going in. She'll be going into her 4th year, and
my God!
Yeah, I know.
So incredible.
I know they were munchkins when we were all trick or treating together, but there's a love-hate relationship. Let's put it that way. It's not theater school is getting that kind of education, and because SUNY Purchase is a great program. We know because that's made all the college lists, and I have a son who wants to go into it too, and so when you're in it in that way. I mean, David and I started on a kids' TV series for Nickelodeon. We didn't go to college. Our education was a 4-camera sitcom in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
But you fall in love with it how you fall in love with it. It's a way of living life, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, and that particular education you just described is something that somebody who's gone to Juilliard or Carnegie Mellon or RADA would kill to get. I mean, that's something that is not a talent, but it's something that people spend their lives trying to get to, let alone figure out how to do.
Yes. No, I think that's true. But I mean, looking at the way she approaches a script, and by the way, even the high school programs in New York City that she was studying outside of school, I would watch and just say, this is to really learn in this kind of, it's an incredible gift to have if you have access to it, to really be able to study in that way, which, but it can be so hard. It can be so hard, blood, sweat, and tears.
Rejection.
Rejection. But I also think that on another level, to further bore the shit out of anybody who's listening to this.
I was going to say,
this will get good.
This is niche.
We'll get into wings, I promise.
Well, yeah. Okay, take your time. Is just that, we're talking about it in terms of pursuing it as a profession, but, having art in your life, for people who've studied acting or dance or music and then don't go into it professionally, that's a development of this kind of connective tissue that can be applied in any other discipline.
So
and
true.
Again, so necessary, man, and so misunderstood. How it develops your cognitive and your imagination, and it's again totally essential. I wish there was more emphasis on it, frankly, and it wasn't so held up to be elitist or frou-frou or only rich celebrities, blah blah blah. It's
I know. And let's pause for the tears.
And the joke is I've been holding in a fart the whole time I'm saying that.
The artist's way. We hold in farts.
The artist's way.
Let me just quickly say that we had Chad Lowe on the podcast, and he gave this beautiful story about how his brother and how Emilio Estevez had become actors, and him and Charlie were just baseball players and didn't want to do it. And he had a 1-car ride with Martin Sheen from their home in Malibu all the way to some concert. It was a 3-hour drive, Anaheim. And Martin told him, you're an actor, and it's the way you're going to live your life. You're going to be observer of life. You're going to see things that others think are mundane, but they're going to be beautiful to you, and you're going to observe life in a different way. And that's why he became an actor, not to be a star or the teen idol, but it was a way of life.
Yeah, it absolutely adds to everything.
So you get out of college and Flamingo Kid, really? That's seriously one of the most classic movies.
It's so funny. Yeah, it was a great movie with Matt Dillon. Let's say Fisher
The
Stevens.
best.
Yes.
Bronson Pinchot, Richard
So
Crenna.
80s.
So 80s, but actually a fantastic movie. Gary Marshall directed it. And
Hector Elizondo, right?
Hector Elizondo
Yes.
was fantastic in it, and an unbilled Marissa Tomei, who was in the background, who of course I was hitting on, and nothing happened. But yeah, I guess
20 years old, right? 21.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And we were shooting at a beach club, I want to say in maybe Rockaway or something like that. And it was so fantastic. And it allowed me to observe all these character actors who I guess are my age, the age I am now, they were then, in the 60s. Right. Richard Crenna, who was a big star for decades.
Huge, and, Richard Crenna.
Yeah, that's right.
In everything.
Yeah. Started in radio, this cat, and I was really able to be part of this world where I felt like I was a young character actor, and I drove from the set to my car in Manhattan with a van full of character actors who had been, like I said, Joe Grafasi and a guy named Richard Stahl. If anybody looks up these names, you'll see the faces. You go like, oh my God, I know that guy. And I was in a van with all these guys, and I was young, and I kept my mouth shut, and it was truly fun. Yeah, it was really exciting, and also very simple. I feel like that time was analog compared to the kind of digital time we're in now. It was very sort of simple. You do this and you go here and this happens. That's it. And now it's like you have to go here, you have to go there, you got to go there, then go back, and you have to think outside the box. And I don't even know how to make a box, and it's all bad.
What a great first job, though, to be involved in truly a cult classic film.
Well, I'm glad you consider it a cult classic. I mean, it's never in the dialogue now, but it was really fun. It was a good film. Matt Dillon was great. It was good.
And by the way, I saw on we're just gonna cry. Let's cry. Get it out. In our notes, I didn't realize you were on As the World Turns.
I was on As the World Turns with Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore was on As the World Turns. Yeah. Bill Fichtner was on As the World Turns.
That's right. Yeah, Marissa Tomei was on it too.
Marissa, yes, yeah. And that was because that was my soap opera. That was my soap opera. There was the teenage love triangle going on, and yes, but I remember Julianne. Didn't Julianne Moore play twins or two?
Yes, after
doppelgangers, something.
The twins. We were. I think she won a daytime Emmy for that, and launched her. Nothing happened to her after that. She's in oblivion now.
Yeah, whatever happened to her?
I don't know. She's probably working luncheonette someplace in an alternate universe. I mean, we were a couple, I want to say, for about 8 or 9 months, and then I was fired and / killed. And that was another early fantastic job from that kind of analog era. It was very broadcast news, very network. There was cameras on, and boom men and again, all these actors who I was working with, who had started on the show when it was in radio, literally, and they were in their 30th year of doing it.
And what a lesson in line, like memorization. You're getting thrown like 15, 20 pages to just, I remember because my roommate was on that show. Martha, David, ended up.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Martha Byrne. Yes. One of my dearest.
Martha, she was, oh my God, she was a kid, a sweet kid.
Yes. And she told, I remember going to visit her, and this is when I got to know her after, but she said the biggest trick she learned was when she would be handed these scenes. Yeah. The way she would try to get her, she would just keep repeating one line very differently. She's like, "Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Why would?" Like as she's trying to remember what the next line that earned her several daytime Emmys as well. Incredible. So, what a great education there on that.
It was fantastic
on that kind of set.
It really was great. And again, it was from a bygone era. It was from the era that I kind of built everything that I guess I was able to do even up till now upon. And it has changed in many ways. But, the core of that kind of communal, that camaraderie, that whole crew aspect, it was very present and alive. You were never by yourself. You were always part of, you were a cog in this big machine. I found that to be so exciting.
And you shot an episode a day, right? For the listeners, a TV show that people would normally watch, an hour TV show, takes a week and a half to 2 weeks to shoot. But these soap operas, they shoot an hour episode per day.
5 a week.
It's good training, though. It's got to be good training.
It was insane. But it was part of this whole aesthetic that I loved. I always loved the idea that actors, the New York actors in the late 40s and 50s, did theater, they did live TV, they did the commercial if they could, and all the old kind of black and white reruns that I would watch growing up had all these actors. I mean, look, James Dean did a hell of a lot of live TV, and all these young actors from Paul Newman did, and who else? I mean, everybody that was sort of a star in the 60s and 70s had cut their teeth living that cool young actor thing where you study at the actor's studio or Bobby Lewis, and then you're understudying at a play off Broadway or something. That whole world I loved, boy.
Right. You do your rounds on the FBI's and,
that's right.
like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
And don't you feel like Tootsie captured that so perfectly too?
Absolutely.
Because you watch that movie today, it still holds up. It is, it's a time capsule, but it is so, like you understand what that world was when you see that movie. Yeah. And how, oh my gosh, so good.
Right. Dustin Hoffman playing a tomato. That tomato doesn't walk. You're a tomato.
That's the best tomato. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And watching, and sometimes I'll go back and watch, live TV, recordings of live TV, and on the old Twilight Zones and stuff. I don't know. It just, that's what sparked my love of this industry, really.
So a classic film is your first film. Then you do, the soap opera thing. And then, so was Wings in 1990? Was that your first real big leading thing?
Yeah, that was 1989, I think. And I'd done a couple of more films before then.
Hamburger Hill,
that's right.
Anthony Barilli, dear friend.
Anthony Barilli, that's right. Tony Barilli. Yeah. So hilarious, man. We were in the Philippines, and he was like, "Where do I plug my hairdryer in?" Where do I plug it in? In the jungle.
Yes, the character he's playing too. We rewatched it. I want to say maybe last summer. Yes, because Quinn, our son, had never seen it. So Anthony was over. I was like, "We're putting it on."
That's really funny. Yeah, I mean, we've all stayed close, and we all still talk every once in a while, and that was a really great time. Again, what were we? We were an ensemble of young actors. We were a community that relied on each other. There was no selfishness. You couldn't be, and maybe that's the theme of today's podcast. But it was really, it was fantastic. So did that, and that was my first real trip abroad. We were about 3 months in the Philippines.
Oh,
crazy.
Wow.
It was very trippy, and never been to another world like that.
Isn't that the Apocalypse Now? Where were they on that movie?
Same place. Yeah. In fact, we were the second. We used a lot of the same kind of background people that was in Apocalypse Now. A lot of the crew.
Oh my gosh! But you didn't get trapped there for like a year or two.
No, we didn't. But it was freaky. I mean, we had to. We would go to Manila, which is of course a modern city, but it still had that kind of post-Vietnam attitude. People would randomly call us Joe. Hey Joe. Hey Joe. Okay,
like the American Joe.
That's right. And then we would travel 2 hours to location in the jungle, and they cut stairs into the mountains, and they burned tires, and we were in the freaking jungle, man. It was great. And then there was also a lot of political upheaval in the Philippines at the time with Marcos, and so our banditos shot at our producers at one point, and then 2 crew members died accidentally. I mean, it was like an epic. It was huge. It was huge, and so very bonding in a way. So I'm glad Quinn saw that. And some of the acting's okay, some of the dialogue is okay, but the battle sequences
the scope of that film
is
great
war movie.
the mud was real. It was really kind of visceral.
But that transition for you, because you literally are one of the funniest people, and you felt like you were being cast in very dramatic roles, and
you're like a character actor trapped in a leading man's body from the range of stuff you've done.
Thanks. Jerry Stiller didn't seem to think so.
Oh, he didn't hit on you?
He did not hit on me. I was like, hey, brother. Hey,
Jerry, what's wrong with me?
What's wrong with me? Well, that's very kind of you to say. I mean, I guess I was always a smart aleck and everything. And like you guys, I mean, you audition for everything. I didn't know I was one way. I didn't become a comedian ever. But I did fancy myself a serious actor and had done theater before Wings that was dead serious. But I found myself, more and more kind of gravitating to comic roles, and so Wings sort of epitomized that, and not pigeonholed me, but kind of declared me as a comic actor, which was fine by me.
Yeah.
But since that show's been off the air, I made a concerted effort. It's so long already, almost 30 years. To go the opposite direction. And now I feel like, okay, I've gone too far playing douchebags. And it's like, it's terrible now.
Can I be funny again? I want it back.
Exactly.
Can I make fart jokes? Yes, please.
And just not even make fart jokes, just make farts.
Just make farts.
So I've been trying to do that, but it's harder. I mean, I don't know.
Let's actually talk about Wings, because it was so successful. I can't believe I don't think I ever even auditioned for an episode of Wings. And I auditioned
before. We were still doing Hey Dude when that
No, but it was
out.
on for how long, Wings?
Oh, for a guest
89 to 97.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Had everybody on.
That's what I'm saying. And I did do guest spots on almost every sitcom in the 90s. Many. And Wings passed me by. I don't know how I missed Wings.
I don't know either, but it may have had something to do with the fact that our one of the leads on the show, Crystal Bernard, was similarly beautiful,
that makes sense.
Funny. Could do that. That might have been something. I don't want to imply that there's sort of.
No, but at the time, if there was a type on a show, then they were not going to put a guest star that was a similar type. I mean, I think that was back in the day. That was how it went down. You're probably right.
Germane to the story in some way.
Or Crystal would have been offended. Who's the other pretty blonde?
That's right.
We can't have this. But you and Tim Daly together were so perfect. The contrast, and then Thomas Hayden Church and Tony Shalhoub and Crystal. I mean, you've all gone on to do incredible things. What an amazing cast! Were you aware of it at the time, the talent you were around, and were you appreciative of how good the show was?
I think for the most part we were appreciative of the position that we were in, and it was a weird position because while we were part of must-see TV, we were also regularly not held to be the greatest of shows. We were in many ways a kind of a critical. We were acceptable, we were liked, but we were nowhere near as sexy or exciting as a show like Friends or Seinfeld or ER or Cheers or even Frasier. And we were all in that world. We were a show that had very little kind of sex or edge to it. And that worked just fine. And it was still funny, just the same. But we rarely got any critical praise beyond just kind of a tap on the, kind of like a ruffling of your hair. And that was fine. Nobody was down in the mouth about it because we still were able to avail ourselves of all the the energy that was surrounding NBC at that time. I mean, they owned the night, they owned TV in many ways. I mean, obviously there were great shows on other networks, but we were part of that whole world and we benefited from it.
Well, you guys were consistently funny. I mean, the show never disappointed.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, look, we still have a lot of fans to this day. But you know the way things are regarded, even today, they always have been. You know, people gravitate towards the hottest, the funniest, the sexiest, the most dangerous, the darkest. We were right in the kind of a nice, calm frequency, and rarely did any, which in itself was kind of an in joke too. And in later years, when we were more of a fixture and people really liked us but didn't even care or really know if we were on the air or not, the writing and the acting got a little looser and a little odder, and we all kind of got better. But by that time, the currents in television had already begun to shift again. You know, I guess this is sort of in the Friends area.
Was James Burrows the director of the pilot?
Yeah, yes, he did direct the pilot. You know, I don't know if I don't think he directed anything else, but he was around fairly often, you know, and he actually gave most of his energy to other shows like Will and Grace down the line. And you know, he had a finger in everything, you know, every pie, and he's still around doing his thing. It had a great pedigree. We had the writers who worked on Cheers, but yeah, it was, appreciated somewhat. And we appreciated it too.
Wasn't that schedule the best? Though, like, I mean,
after the Philippines,
it's like you feel like a normal human being. I mean, it's such a good, steady job when you get on a show like that lasts for a while. I mean, I'm sure
not even normal. It's super normal because normal,
not even normal, right?
Not even normal. I mean, it's really kind of not elitist, but it was just a really kind of cushy, amazing lifestyle.
Shockingly.
And not just for the actors, but for the crew as well. Everybody loved it. Which, you know, look, is to say that that a normal, let's say, an hour show can be quite grueling. And again, not necessarily for the actors who get way too much credit, but they get the focus. But for the crew, the people who were there before and after, and you know, prepping in advance, blah, 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 blah. Now, that's a really hard job. I mean, one of my pet peeves, just to digress yet again, is when people, especially lately, deride Hollywood and elitism. And I'm like, you know, that 98% of Hollywood is like blue collar, you know,
union workers, Teamsters. Like,
yes. You are to everybody, you know, and the 2% of like the, you know, hoity-toity, pretty boy, you know, that's nothing. I mean, they comprise a fraction of what that Hollywood is that you deride and yet consume, you know, 24/7. Makes me so mad.
Really good point you make, Stephen.
It bugs me. It's like it's a huge industry, you know, so when people deride it, it bugs me.
You're right. People are misguided how they look at Hollywood. It really is. And when you see the writer strike that's going on now, all the peripheral, all those crew members that are out of work waiting this out, I feel bad.
Well, yeah, of course. Look, and maybe this goes back to our art discussion. You know, pay the creatives, because these studios have made so much money, you know, because of technology and stuff, but it's on the backs of the people who create. And these writers are, you know, they're not wealthy, man, you know, and again, people have a misconception about Hollywood and the industry, that everybody is just rolling in dough. Vast majority or the rank and file are people who aspire to make a living.
Making a living, right. You have a new podcast that I just started listening to.
Oh, good. It's called Eating Out with Eric and Steve.
It's so much fun. I mean, I will say I've only listened to the first episode because I just started, but love Richard Kind. I mean, anything Richard Kind, because there's nothing Richard Kind isn't in right currently.
Right.
He's right. But I loved it. It's such a fun idea. And I think you said it in the first episode that anyone who suffers from misophonia, because our daughter has it selectively.
Yeah. Wait, what
selectively.
Is that? It's a hypersensitivity to sound. And
chewing?
chewing, wrapping, crinkles, crinkling.
I definitely have that.
I think you do too, David.
People
and
chewing.
Yeah, but what they do on this podcast is you guys all eat together.
We eat, yeah. The original, we originally conceived that we'd be at a restaurant, but that was technically impractical and so we just eat on our own. And occasionally it's like
that's Richard Kind through most of you. He loved that pizza.
Sure.
And I thought of you, David, and I thought of Ella because I thought this is not for her, but it is for me.
Because of all the chewing.
I love food.
Try it next time.
I love talking about food.
Your next episode, whoever, just start eating matzah or eating stuff that's
my
so
co-host
loud.
Oh no, dude! Did you ever, when you have a eating scene, you just roll the fork around and you don't take bites? It's like, if I do it once, I'm going to do it every angle.
I learned. We talk about that in at least 2 or 3 of the podcasts, and we also talk about how eating is one thing. When you look at an old movie and you see people smoking cigarettes all throughout the movie, they're smoking on your side, they're smoking on my side, they're smoking on the over, they're smoking on the wide. I mean, they must have smoked 5-6 packs a day. And I think somebody said that's why they all died in their 50s,
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And also the technical, when you take a puff or when you take a bite, you better match that. I mean, who remembers that,
Yeah.
How is Chicago Med going?
Okay.
Well, being on a network show is not cool or hip anymore.
No, it is. It's great fun. We get to be in Chicago, which I love that city.
So you shoot the whole show in Chicago? Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Dick Wolf does Chicago Med, Chicago PD, and Chicago Fire, and PD and Fire are mostly exterior shows. Obviously, the nature of the shows is that they're outdoors. And it is freezing, man. It's crazy cold in Chicago. But we, and the other shows, hate us. And they call us Club Med because we walk around wearing our scrubs, which are like pajamas.
And you're indoors.
We're indoors while everybody's freezing their asses off. And it's a great show with lovely, lovely actors. And, again, grateful to be working. And yeah, it's good to be on a network show because that's sort of a dinosaur a bit. And it's good. It's good to be working.
But I would say that those sort of procedural shows, is that what you call it? Do you call it a procedural?
I guess, yeah.
Or,
I guess
an hour
because
drama.
Because they stand alone. The episodes can stand alone.
Right, with maybe a through. But I have to just say that they like the fans of those shows, like that. Those are diehard fans. And I know because my mother is one of them. And there is not a moment in time, like she would rather watch a repeat of a show she likes than, she stresses out during a tennis match or something. If the person she likes is like, she's like, I can't stand watching Venus Williams lose. I have to turn this off. I have to put on Chicago Med. It's like a decompressor.
Yeah.
And I'm not just putting my mom in the category because they're huge, huge shows. So that another great.
Oh yeah, the whole Law and Order universe is also
yes, it's its own subculture.
Absolutely is, and it's incredibly satisfying. Look, there are audiences for all of these things. I mean, even if they're part of a cultural shift or they're the old school type thing. Guess what? There's people over the age of 50 that still like that stuff, and they're still viable consumers. So, yeah, they get really high ratings, and they're well written, and they're satisfying, and it's a kind of template that goes back to radio and soaps in a way. It's very inviting, and it embraces an audience, even the ones that are dark or a little complicated. Yeah. There are characters that people like, revere, dislike. My particular character started out very unlikable, and to the writer's credit, they've kind of brought him into a more likable place, which is good for me and also interesting to play. It's funny. I always thought that if you raise the bar, the audience will come to it. There's a lot of time when the audience gets, again, derided. They're boobs or they're idiots. They're not, or else all the great shows that people have loved, from MASH to Seinfeld to ER to, would not have succeeded had there not been massive audiences for those shows, right? And if you put it up, if you raise the bar, people love it. They will come.
They will come.
They will.
These network shows, everyone gets paid. It's been there's a great article in the New York Magazine with Drew Barrymore on the cover. It's the TV issue talking about how streamers, starting with Netflix, have really destroyed a 75-year-old system where everyone got paid and everyone was provided for. And a network show like Chicago Med is sold all over the world. The actors, the writers, everybody there gets paid as the show performs. And I think that's what is special about network TV right now, is that everyone is really compensated the way they should be and the way they have been for so many years.
Technically, that's shifting too, because all those studios are now, out of necessity, have to go and kind of emulate the streaming formulas and figure out a way to make their shows viable and attractive in different formats, right? I mean, very few people gather around the TV of a Thursday evening at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. You just watch it on your toenail.
So Chicago Med probably like streams on Peacock or
Peacock. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just different. Again, it's analog versus digital. That's how I can conceive of it.
It really is. There's like a point in time where everything changed.
Yeah.
A few years ago. But Steven Weber, thank you so much, man.
My pleasure. Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Thank you so much. And I loved the Jerry story. And Ben sends his love. And let's all find each other, in person. Okay.
Yeah. No.
Come on, we can talk about farts. Ben Stiller's favorite conversation.
If you're in person, you don't talk farts. You fart farts.
Right. If you fart on Zoom, it's not as intrusive. So
this will be my brother's favorite moment of this podcast, because this is all we talk about and happens in our family. So much love.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. And I can't wait to keep listening to the podcast. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Congrats.
It's fun. We have some good episodes coming up.
I can't wait.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, you,
love.
Bye.
I'm hitting leave now. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm hitting the second leave now. Bye.
Bye.
Clearly, he's got the comic chops.
He is so funny, and he is so smart and talented, and has really literally not stopped working over almost 40 years. I mean,
honestly,
really.
like even more than people's talent and their performances, the longevity is what really impresses me.
Yeah.
Like if someone can keep it going and do drama to broad comedy back to drama, and I feel like I've never met him, but I feel like I've known him for decades.
It's true. And he's just has such a great, I love talking to him about all the art stuff. Hopefully we didn't lose too many listeners getting a little too internalizing the creative stuff, but I think he had a really important thing to say about it. So it was great having him, and it's great seeing you. And
you as well.
Yeah. We got a great guest next week.
We do.
We won't say. Nope. You're not going to say it.
Okay. I cannot hold a secret.
He can't keep a secret.
I'll be back in New York third week of July. So
great.
Let's try and hang.
Yes.
And so everybody, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoyed Steven Weber.
And we will have you back next week
with a great guest that, we can't tell you who. All right. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe and give us 5 stars.
And please follow us on Instagram at HeyDude, the 90s Called. See you next time.